What's up, superhero show fans? We're talking Young Justice Phantoms, Season 4. Here we go. Brian, do you like my epic receding hairline?
Of course I do.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page there. You know, I got my salad, and I'm a hockey player, and it's awesome. And who cares about viewers? We're just going to do inside jokes. It's perfect.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So, Brian, is it okay if I show you some comics before we start talking about Young Justice Phantoms?
Of course.
Okay. So, in our discussions, we've talked about What If, right? And there's actually a comic book store that's right by my house. It's like a collectible store. And I was able to pick up this issue of What If, which is What If the Marvel superheroes had lost Atlantis Attacks, right?
Okay.
And we kind of have a growing audience with our podcast. So I'm just going to describe it. It's basically it's What If from like the 1990s. I think it's 1991. And it's like this, what if the Avengers and all the heroes had lost this battle against the forces of Atlantis, right? And I always remember this one comic. What's that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I always remember this one comic because like there's this part where like all the heroes get killed. Like we got a little D&D ad in the back. Remember those?
Nice.
Yeah. And I always remember there's a couple of trippy things in here. There's one where like the Punisher and Moon Knight, for all you guys that are listening, like there's like a Punisher snake guy and Moon Knight is like a lizard guy. Do you see that?
Interesting.
Yeah. All these heroes get turned into like lizard people. And like here's Doctor Strange getting blasted by like a Hydra like beast. And look, like here's his like skeleton right over here. Like all burned.
Yeah, and see, this is what when we were reviewing the What If show, this is the kind of like crazy stuff that we expect to happen in a What If comic, and I think we got that in some accounts. But like, this is like batshit crazy stuff in these things, and it's great.
Oh, it's so good.
We didn't quite hit that mark on that show, I don't think.
It's so good. Like, and just to go along with that batshit crazy, like, look, here's a panel where it's Daredevil fighting. It's Daredevil that's become a lizard man. He's fighting Wolverine, and then Wolverine just like kills him. See, chunk right there. Right? That's cool. Yeah, but there's always this one panel I remember from this comic where like the Human Torch and Iceman are two of the heroes that are still alive after most of the heroes have gotten killed, and they go to like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Oh well. This is making for some great live recordings right here. Like the Human Torch and Iceman go to break into this meeting that the bad guys are having, and like the Human Torch's leg touches Iceman's leg, and they both like kind of cancel each other out, and they crash into the meeting, and they get caught. I don't know. I always remember that. Anyway, for the other comics, do you remember we were talking about like there was this Avengers crossover? With the X-Men.
Okay, yeah.
So this is Avengers West Coast, and basically right after Magneto ripped out Wolverine's adamantium, they had this I think it was actually, I'm sorry, before that, they had this crossover with the Alkalites. Remember that was like Magneto's team?
Yeah.
And and it was like they were taking over I think Genosha. And look, here's like Cersei from the Eternals movie.
Oh yeah, there she goes.
She used to be on the Avengers West Coast team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not sporting some red colors back in the 90s.
Yeah. And all the members of the Avengers were wearing like these like jackets. These like
they had like the bomber style jacket. The X-Men kind of adopted it around the same time.
Yeah.
They had like an A patch rather than the X. I guess that was like the cool thing. You know,
I thought it was pretty hip.
Pouches.
Yeah. And then my wife got this comic right here, Vampirella. It's actually a magazine, Vampirella magazine.
Nice.
And it was $25. And I just thought it was kind of interesting, right? Because like when we grew up in the 90s, there were a lot of sexy comic pictures, right? It was like, oh, look at all these sexy comic characters. And then like it's kind of cool to see how far we've come. And that's just not the appeal of comics anymore. Like,
yeah, I mean, Marvel used to put out a swimsuit issue. I mean,
right.
Like it's like a mind-boggling thought, really.
Yes, but see, back in the day, in the 90s, like before the internet and stuff, you know, kids would be like, "Oh my god, I could get this comic with this girl on it," you know, and they're all excited. Nowadays, there's other options for young adults.
I would say that, yes.
Yes. But people are probably wondering, what the hell is this guy talking about? Sorry, me and Brian just wanted to reminisce. But we're going to talk about Young Justice Phantoms, episode 6. Did you like it better than episode 5?
Oh, good question. I don't know if it's necessarily better, but it was just as good, I think. I would say at least pretty on par.
Okay. They still haven't answered who is the mole. Is it Vandal Savage's daughter, or is it this Onyx girl?
Onyx. Yeah, it's still very unclear. I think most of the episode is about trying to determine that. As we saw at the end of the last one, Tigress calls in Cheshire just to kind of interrogate them, and stuff goes wrong.
Yeah, and we get a lot of random characters, and it's kind of cool because I didn't know who any of these characters were. Were you familiar with like Rictus or Black Spider?
Black Spider we've seen before. In this show. Rictus was new to me, but Rictus is a fairly new comic character as well, and it was a male in the comics. And there's another cameo appearance too with the telepath that they try to have analyzed the two, Cassandra and Onyx. That's Looker from The Outsiders, who made an appearance in the previous season before she was costumed.
Yeah. There's like so many deep cuts because I didn't even know who that was. It's clear that like the comic version of her must have been like sort of like a wannabe Jean Grey, right?
Yeah, if you look at it, I can kind of get that vibe a little bit, maybe. Very unique costume too.
Yeah, like what was that?
Had an entire exposed leg or something like that. It's something weird.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what was going on there. I didn't know who she was at all, and I feel like I know a lot of DC characters. But she had that eye on her chest, and I thought it was some sort of like Egyptian thing. Like it was like one of the pharaohs. But it's just an eye because her name's Looker.
Yeah.
So, what's funny about that Black Spider? He's a Batman character. But Greg Weisman, one of the creators of the show, he wrote for Spectacular Spider-Man, the cartoon. And so he basically made this Black Spider character be like Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can tell it's I mean, there have been a one or two other evil versions of Spider-Man around. Like there was the Spider from Exiles, I believe, as well. That's Marvel though. But yeah, like this character is very quippy, but it's a little darker, a little more juvenile, I guess.
Yeah, did he like jump around and say like, "Look at my balls" or something,
yeah,
right?
Like sticky balls or something. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And the guy that played him is Josh Keaton, who was the voice of Spider-Man in that Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon.
Yes, that's right. I should have realized that I saw the name Josh Keaton and I didn't put it together that he was in Spider-Man. But yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's just this show. It's so much fun because there's all these Easter eggs put in there, all these little treats for the fans of either just the animated shows, the DC universe. And it just works. Like they serve a purpose. The show doesn't like stop in its tracks just to throw an Easter egg in there. It's just like, we need some henchmen. Okay, let's have this Spider-Man character, and he's voiced by the guy that did Spider-Man on this show that Greg Weisman did.
Yeah.
Or like, do we need this henchman? Let's get this guy that's from like the New 52, and he's from Red Hood and the Outlaws, right? That's Rictus, right?
Is that what the book he was from? I don't even remember.
Yeah. And so, besides that, then you also have Jason Bard, who was Artemis's boyfriend.
Yes, he's a Batgirl supporting character, right?
Yeah. He's a Gotham PD detective.
Yeah,
and I think he's from like a long time ago too, like decades ago, maybe even like.
The name sounded way more familiar to me than it actually was. I think, but I think you might be right.
Well, I thought that Jason Bard was the guy that turns into the demon, but
yeah, that's Jason Blood.
Jason Blood. All right. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, you have all these characters, and there wasn't like that much of a progression of the story. It was more like, we're still kind of debating who's telling the truth. You did see more of a flashback with Artemis and with Cheshire and like their childhood, but it was really just kind of like elaborating on what they set up last episode.
Yeah. Yes, it was a little more backstory on the two sisters. There were a few little scenes of Beast Boy kind of dealing with the fallout of the Mars arc, which I thought was very. It was interesting to see that spliced in there because there were all these very quick little cuts. It's one scene, very little dialogue, but it just drive it home that he's kind of depressed after everything that happened.
Yeah,
but
I thought it was.
Okay.
I was gonna say I thought that was a very realistic depiction of depression in a superhero story. Like a lot of times
you don't see that very often in comics because you have to kind of have these characters to kind of like idolize or look up to in a sense, and you don't always see that kind of emotion come out in comic books.
Yeah, like going along with that, usually if a character has lost someone, they start to kind of break down and they get aggressive and they're angry a lot of the time in comics, right? Because that leads to just more action. But him just like sleeping and just like looking at things on his phone, I feel like that is so much more realistic.
Yeah, and also they showed him watching a news report of Brion in Markovia, and then they mentioned his girlfriend Perdita, which it seems like he's not talking to. So it's like really a very realistic depiction of depression. I mean, he's just avoiding all contact of any kind, and he's constantly surrounded by his mistakes and insecurities.
Yeah. So I like those little asides. I like that that's kind of a bridge to the previous story arc, that they're not just like totally removed from each other. I'm just trying to think what else I liked. I liked that we got more of Orphan and we got to see like who she was under the mask too.
Yeah, I think we said in either it must have been last week's episode that they never actually confirmed that it was Cassandra Cain, but it is Cassandra, and it is Shiva's daughter and all that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I mean, one thing I should point out too is that Lady Shiva is actually one of my favorite DC villains. She's in my top 10, and so it was really great to see her. Lady Shiva is one of those characters that when DC rebooted itself and they had new characters or new versions of characters for the New 52, I felt like they really messed up her design and like her personality. But like in that Gail Simone Birds of Prey run, oh my gosh,
yeah, she was so good. Yeah.
But what was interesting about that too was that when they said Cassandra's last name, they said Shiva's last name. They didn't say Cain at all.
Correct.
Like her dad, right?
Yeah. I don't know even who the dad really was. It was like David Cain, but I don't know if he had any kind of major role in anything else. So it's not necessarily a loss to me. And they've had plenty of single parents raising kids in this show. I mean, so it's not unheard of.
Yeah, right. That's a good point.
But I think in the comics though, I think the dad was one of the ones that did some of those things, like this the vocal cord thing and the reading body language focus. I think that was more his doing than Shiva. But they're implying that Shiva did all of it. So I'm assuming David Cain will not be in the picture here.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be around. In the comics, you are right. It's that he was the one that kind of molded her to be that way.
Yeah.
And he, in the comics, before the New 52, there was a time when Bruce Wayne was framed for murder, and he was behind that murder. He worked with Bruce Wayne and kind of trained him too. He was one of the guys that like trained him. And then in the New 52 version, we didn't see him for a long time. But then like there was a comic called Batman and Robin Eternal, and they showed that like there was a group that would essentially try to make like Robins for Batman, and they would make them these like crazy trained assassins, and he was part of that group. And I think he was called Orphan first before Cassandra Cain became Orphan.
Was Batman and Robin Eternal the weekly one?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was Batman Eternal, and then eventually there was Batman and Robin Eternal.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay. At least Batman Eternal was the weekly one. I remember when they had that little experiment.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to like those. I used to like weekly comics, like even like the New 52. That's like the first one. I thought that was so good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the real shining thing for me with those the weekly comics was Injustice, the Tom Taylor Injustice books. They were so good.
Yeah. They were released like online, right? Like in little installments.
They might have been, yeah. They were digital only, I believe. So yeah, like I remember, like every week I was spending 99 cents on buying a new episode issue. And it was like, that was when my comic addiction was like super high, and I was spending like 40-50 bucks a week or something like that. But it was nice to have $1 comic book, and it was short because they were only like a third or a fourth of a regular comic. But it was so good.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I totally understand that comic addiction. I was like you, man. I think it was like $40 a week on comics. So essentially, what does that mean? It's like,
Oh, no. Let's not do math and figure that out the year, because I don't want to know.
Yeah. But
I don't have those books anymore. They're gone. So I don't want to know how much money I lost.
Oof. Oh, yeah. They take up a big portion of my garage, and I know I've spent even more than that with Comixology and stuff too. Just thousands and thousands of dollars on comics. But like this kind of show pays off for guys like us that have invested so much, because they just like we've been saying, they don't hold back at all. It's just like, you have to know the comics, you have to know this show, and we're just going. We're not stopping to explain things for you.
Yep.
So I'm trying to remember where it left off. Oh, so essentially, Lady Shiva kidnaps Orphan, Cassandra Cain, and then she's with that team. She has Black Spider, she has Rictus, but then Shade shows up too. Yeah. Did you ever read the Starman comic by James Robinson?
I have not.
Okay. That's like fantastic. It's really, really good. And Shade is like a really big part of that. I don't think it's going to matter in Young Justice, but it was like really cool to see him just like pop up like that.
Yeah, we've seen him before in the show, though, haven't we?
Yeah. There's a couple of characters like that kind of mess around with shades and shadow and shit, and they've shown him and other guys too. So I think it just kind of left off with them having to go track her down. They were going to go to, I think they were going to go to that island, right? Infinity
they're going to go to the island. It's something with a P. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now. But yeah, they want Cassandra Savage brought back to the island there, and they'll exchange her for Orphan. And Cassandra's going willingly, but it seems that at this moment in time, they're choosing to trust both of them. And because nobody really knows what's going on here, and I still have no inkling on which one is telling the truth or not. Whether it's one or the other, both, or neither, no clue whatsoever. The only thing that I don't think they followed up on this, but in the flashback, they made a point to show that Artemis, Tigress and Cheshire had a code word. All mad as hatters, and at the end of the episode, she says that, and I don't think they follow up on that. But I'm wondering how that's going to come into play, because she basically says, "Hey, we got to talk," without anybody here, and I don't think they did that yet. I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, you're right. I did pick up on that too, because of course they're making all those references. There's Tale of Two Cities in the last episode. This next one was Alice Through the Looking Glass. And of course there's the Mad Hatter reference. That was that code. That was when Artemis gave her the food that she took from Sportsmaster. So they're probably going to show up in the beginning of next episode, like on that rooftop, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Because they basically cut right to them in the ship flying to the island. So.
Oh, okay. Do you know the title of the next episode or no?
That's a great question. Let me see if I can look that up really quick while we're here.
I just feel like it's probably going to be like it's part of a trilogy, and then the next one is going to be like another literary reference.
The Lady or the Tigress.
Okay. That's good. And each episode so far, when they do the post-credit scene or the credit scene, it's like her reading an excerpt from a story.
Yes.
And like you saw like the back of a creature, and it was like looking at Superboy's picture. Was that like a creature from like Cadmus?
It must have been, because I mean he kind of befriended them. So Yeah, it must have been. But
Yeah.
I couldn't pick out who if they had really made a actual character out of it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm digging this show. This show is going to take us all the way up to New Year's, right before the break.
Yeah, it goes to like the last Thursday in the year, and then we get a break until the spring.
Nice. Okay.
It's literally the 30th of December. So
nice. Okay. I'm down for that. So I guess do you have anything else you want to say about Young Justice or?
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I'm guessing that this story will play out over another 2, maybe 3 episodes, and then I'm assuming we're gonna get some kind of story with like Nightwing and Zatanna and maybe Rocket, because that's the way they seem to be doing it. They seem to be splitting it up into little smaller groups, and then there. And I don't know if maybe the Ariel Wars will come together. In the end, who knows?
Yeah. If they do have Zatanna doing a like a 3 episode arc or whatever, then I think that's what's going to have Claire on the Witch Boy. I remember seeing him in the
trailer. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I'm actually. They do have episode titles for all these, most of these episodes. It does look like episode 9 will have Zatanna. The episode name is Nomad Isser, which backwards is Rise Demon. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna be Zatanna.
Yeah. Nice, man. Nice. My daughter Clementine, who's 5 years old, she really likes Clarion the Witch Boy a lot.
Okay, interesting.
That's kind of random, right? It's because he has that cat, Teakle.
Okay.
And she saw him in a Young Justice episode one time, and there's this one part where he's stuck in the Tower of Fate, Dr. Fate's tower, and he keeps trying to get out of it, and he keeps asking Teakle, "Are we in the tower?" And Teakle just goes, "Meow," and then he goes, "Dang it!" And that's like the whole end credits. Is
yes,
just
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And so I'll say that sometimes, and Clementine will go meow, and so she has that connection. She likes sometimes picturing that she is Teakle. Sometimes she likes to picture that she has Teakle.
Nice.
It's cute. Yeah, man. So let's dive into what everyone is talking about then. Spider-Man No Way Home.
So the first thing I want to say about this trailer is that it did seem to break the trailer records for Endgame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was kind of people expected. Which is interesting. I don't know the exact number it got, but it just reading that fact, you know it's high. In terms of speed and quantity.
Yeah. I think that because I couldn't watch it immediately. I had to go help my kids, and they were getting ready for bed or something. I was like maybe 10 minutes after it debuted, I pulled it up and it had 4 million views. It's something crazy.
I felt so bad. Brandon fell asleep seconds before it came on. We thought it was going to be 8 o'clock, and then they pushed it to 8:30, and he fell asleep at 8:25 or 8:26, something like that. And I'm like, I was like, do I wake him up? No, and I didn't. No, you watched it in the morning and loved it.
He loved it?
Yeah.
What was his takeaway from it?
There was no, he didn't really mention any details. He was just, you can tell by the excited look in his face that I don't really see him get as much with superhero stuff as lately. It's more other stuff. So it was nice to see that again. Because of course I have to remind everybody that I'm stupid and I named my son, my son's middle name is Parker after Peter Parker. So yeah.
Hey, I'm glad that he got into it, man. I know he was getting more into video games and stuff recently. I didn't want to show it to Pepper. I didn't show it to any of my kids because it's sort of a spoiler for stuff that's happening in the MCU. And I was thinking that if I wanted to show Pepper all the MCU movies that she hasn't seen, it would almost be I would have to show her one movie per day between now and when that movie came out. And you know what I'm saying? Isn't that crazy? Because there's 26 Marvel movies, right?
Yeah.
And she's seen, I think Pepper's seen maybe 6 or 7. I know that we have more than 20 days left, but it's just kind of crazy that you could almost watch one per day and it would get you to that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And Brandon has not seen all of them. He's seen a decent amount. I mean, the first Spider-Man he's probably seen about 20 times.
Yeah.
I mean, really, he's watched all of the Spider-Mans multiple times. Maybe the only one that he didn't watch that many times was Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But every other one he's watched at least like 5 times.
Oh, well, I mean, this must have been a real treat for him because this is just like Easter egg central in this trailer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the elephant in the room is that, you know, people think that the Spider-Men were taken out of the trailer itself, right?
Yes. Yeah, there a lot of people were floating around a GIF capture of a scene with Electro, Lizard, and Sandman, and you know something's clearly punching the Lizard.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, well, you didn't show me, but I mean, you kind of showed me.
Right. I think that was from a Brazilian trailer, if I heard correctly. And it's the Lizard going like this, like, and then he's like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Just completely spun around. So, I don't know. I think that I had so much excitement about this trailer prior to seeing it, and then seeing it, I was like, oh, it might not end up being what I want it to be, but it's almost like unfair what I want it to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I when I shared with some friends, I said, this trailer is awesome. It's not exactly what I was expecting or wanted, but it's still really a really great trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to me, it's like, what is the arc of this trilogy? Like, what are we trying to do with Peter Parker? Is there an arc? You know, is it like really just because of like Sony and Marvel and like the way the MCU has gone, that sort of dictated Peter Parker's story? Or is it like this character arc for him? And I feel like there's a transition between Homecoming and Far From Home, but then I feel like it gets really weird with this one, right?
Yeah, they're throwing quite a bit at you. I mean, the first one is really about him just kind of entering the superhero world or whatever, or trying to find his place in it. And then by the second one, he kind of has sort of found a place, but he's kind of lost his mentor. So he's a little lost through that movie, and he kind of finds his footing at the end. And then at the very end of it, you know, his identity is revealed, and he's just kind of put into this you know, this predicament that you know, how do you handle that? And I think the opening line of this trailer where he says, you know, there was only 1 week since I've been bit by the spider. There's only been 1 week that I felt anything has felt normal, and that's after I told you. I mean, speaking to MJ, and that
Right.
kind of characterizes a lot the arc for me, is that he's you know, he's growing up and maturing as a person and a superhero, and it's just how insane that everything normally is with this kind of lifestyle. I'm thinking like a lifestyle like it's a real thing, you know? No, I understand what you're superhero, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I've never really been like super impressed with this version of MJ. I mean, even like the Kirsten Dunst version of MJ, I wasn't like super impressed with, but I felt like her purpose was fully served in those movies, you know, where like you could tell like he loves her, and he would be like crushed if he lost her, and he does so many things for her. In this, like, I don't know, I see that he likes MJ and he's into her, but it just doesn't feel like that kind of connection. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it feels like an adolescent crush almost, you know, rather than a real love story, I suppose. Which is funny because aren't they like dating in real life?
Yeah, yeah. And they have that shot, like the very last shot of the trailer is when she like falls off this scaffolding and he's reaching for her, and it's very reminiscent of Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he's trying to get Gwen. But
yeah,
like,
and there's a lot of people that are speculating that that's like a redemption for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. That's actually his hand there.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I was trying to look at the glove because the glove's a little more blue on the inside, which is not normally a characteristic. I mean, you don't really see the inside of his hands very often. So, but I think it goes more along with the Andrew Garfield costume. maybe, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I have heard speculation like that like maybe he shows up and saves her. What I definitely don't want is I don't want the other two Spider-Men to just show up at like the last 10 minutes and it's like, oh, we're here, and then that's it, and then they go away. Like I don't want like little brief cameos. I want a little bit of that Into the Spider-Verse kind of interaction.
Totally agreed. Before I was talking to Kristen about this, and I mentioned like there's like a whole timeline of how often Andrew Garfield is denied being in this movie.
Right, right.
And she brought up the point. It's like, what if it is he wasn't actually in the movie and it's just his voice or something. It's all CG crap because it's just they show up at the end and they're implying that he's there, but he's not actually there. Yeah. I'm like, I guess maybe. Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of like a weird way of getting around it, and I think I'd be disappointed. I don't think that. I mean that conversation started based on talking about how much they could be in the movie, and then about giving away too much in a trailer, because that's something that I feel a lot of movies do. But I guess in this particular instance, it felt like they could have gotten away with it because everybody, it's like the worst. If it's real, it's the worst kept secret ever. If it's fake, it's going to be like a huge disappointment, I think.
Yes.
Because the hype for this is real. It's just real.
Yeah. Well, how about this? How about as our last kind of thing that we do? How about we try to go through what we think is going to happen in the movie, like beats, not like an extended thing, but basically like how you think this is going to go. And you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll take a crack at it.
Go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. So Peter's identity is revealed. He goes to Doctor Strange to cast the spell to help people forget. Things get messed up. Other villains start appearing. We know that's all pretty much fact that we know.
Right.
There's a line in the trailer about that Doctor Strange is implying that all these villains are fated to die battling Spider-Man, and I think that doesn't sit well with Peter. I think that he's like, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want anybody to die. Like I'm tired of people dying, and I think he wants to save them in some manner. So I think he wants to either redeem, probably not redeem them, but at least send them back to where they came from. Because he doesn't want to kill anybody. I'm not exactly sure because if we talked about this in the last time we talked about Spider-Man in general. They only show 5 villains. So there's Norman Osborn, Spider-Man 1, Green Goblin, Doc Ock from the Tobey Maguire ones as well, Sandman from the Tobey Maguire movies, and then they have Lizard and Electro from the Andrew Garfield movies. But there isn't any representation for this Spider-Man.
Right.
So I mean, it could be Vulture, it could be Mysterio, or it could be something totally separate. I'm not really sure. But I'm real interested as to why they haven't shown all 6. I mean, there's no way they're just going to have 5 with all the all the pretense. I mean, the Sinister Six is a thing. There's no way they're not going to have 6 of them.
Right.
That might even be a bigger letdown than not having Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But beyond that, I don't know. My idea is that Peter's not the easy route is to have these villains get killed and they get sent, and then that saves the multiverse or whatever. But he doesn't want to do that, and it becomes a lot harder because of that. And I think that's going to be the struggle is going to be.
Okay. I agree with most of that. And you are right about it. It would be a huge disappointment if they didn't have the Sinister Six. Like, how lame would it be if this was all just for Sony to make a Sinister Six movie? And so in this movie, like the Goblin's flying around and he's like, "We're the fearsome 5." And then like when they get defeated, he's like, "Oh, if only there was a 6th member." And that's like the post-credit scene.
And then there's a logo for the Sinister Six movie that they've been teasing forever.
Right. The Sinister Six will return.
You reminded me too that there's actually a very quick flash of a second Green Goblin
Right.
I mean, it's possible it's an unmasked Norman Osborn, but the costume looks a lot more like I would say Dave Franco's costume from the Raimi
James
movie.
Franco's.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way it's gonna be James Franco. Did I say Dave Franco? James
He
Franco.
did, and I kind of corrected it. It's all good.
But there's no way that they're gonna use James Franco with because all his stuff. But it also looked like the hair was a little longer. It almost kind of looked like Ned's hair. So I wonder if that's like some people have speculated if that's like an alternate universe Ned Leeds Hobgoblin. I think that would kind of mess up or be difficult for Peter to deal with. And that's the other thing too, is that are these versions of these villains the exact versions from these movies?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like Doc Ock looks exactly the same, and I'm obviously Willem Dafoe and all that, but Electro's a little different looking. I mean, he's not blue anymore; he's yellow.
Right.
He looks like he's wearing more of a suit rather than being pure energy like he was in the Amazing Spider-Man. And I even saw the little star thing very briefly too, which I was very happy about. So, and then, I mean, Sandman we only see as a big cloud of dust, so we really can't say. But Lizard looked pretty spot on too. So, are these the same exact versions, or are they possibly like variants from other multiverses or something?
Yeah. Well, so there's one thing that I keep noticing, and I'm like, am I just a wacko? And I think this means something, and it's nothing. And there's a shot with Dr. Octopus where he's looking at one of his tentacles, and it's like red, and it kind of reminds me of Iron Man's armor a little bit. And so I was wondering if the villains are in the MCU universe for a prolonged period of time, do they start to change so that they kind of fit the MCU, right? And I mean, that's probably nothing. It's probably really stupid for me to even think that. But I was like, why is his arm red? Like the whole arm was red.
Yeah, that was. I think there were some red lights on the original tentacles.
Right, in the mouth part.
Yeah, but there was definitely some more red on these. I mean, it's possible it's just a stylistic change.
It's probably that.
But I see where you're going with it, and I wouldn't be. I'm not convinced that these are the exact versions.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that I feel too. It's like that's not the Tobey Maguire Dr. Octopus, right? But to go along with what you were saying, one thing that's a continuation of the last story, and we haven't really seen it in the trailers. We've seen that Peter has this grief because his identity's been revealed, but maybe because he didn't kill the Vulture in the first movie, and so maybe Mysterio is like his first kill, and so maybe he has a lot of remorse about that, and maybe they play it up more in the movie, and so when it comes time to like send these villains back, that's a main focus for him. Is like, oh, I can't let them die like I let Mysterio die.
Or now you mentioned Mysterio too. I mean, I can't not bring up the general idea that this is all still Mysterio, and none of this is actually happening. Everything is still an illusion for some reason. I don't know what the motivation there would be, because clearly his motivation was getting that those glasses and that defense system from Peter. I don't know why he would still be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the reasoning for him to? I mean, other than revenge, I guess.
Yeah.
But it would kind of be a stretch, because that's like a lot to do.
Yeah, I think that like if somehow they were like, it's been Mysterio this whole time, I think that like fans would like vomit and have diarrhea at like the same time. Like it would be such a strong reaction, like what is going on? It like, because I mean,
I'd hate to clean up that theater.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just like it'd be too much. But I think that with Mysterio, you could have this like kind of redemption for Peter, where maybe when they do finally fix the whole time problem, the multiverse problem, he's around somehow, and they do fix his identity issue where essentially they go back to where Mysterio doesn't die, and then he isn't able to reveal Peter's identity. So it's like
you're talking like time travel, sort of.
Maybe my whole theory for the movie is that this is the way that they're going to take the Tom Holland Spider-Man out of the MCU completely. And so I think that like he's going to go to a different timeline where like maybe a Spider-Man didn't exist or something, or a Spider-Man is dead. And that timeline is going to have all of these villains in it so that you can use all these Spider-Man villains and they're all alive. But then his identity is secret. That's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. One of the things that I think adds to that too is I read an article earlier today where they said that Tom Holland intervened sort of at one of the ending scenes and said like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't like how this ends. And then he discussed it with John Watts, and then they went to the writers and they got a scene like rewritten for the part of the ending. So maybe, I mean, that's really the big question is this the last MCU Spider-Man or not? And will Tom be back in any capacity? He's made comments about, mentoring the next actor playing Spider-Man. He's also made comments that maybe he'll do another 3, or maybe he won't do anything. So we really have no idea what could happen. And I think if we even knew that, it would help kind of zone in on what's going to happen in the movie. Yeah.
I do think that one of the post-credit scenes is going to have Venom in it. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, hell, maybe Venom was punching Lizard for all we know.
Oh, God. Oh, God. That'd be so stupid. Just because that version of Venom is so dumb,
Yeah, no, he'll put on he'll assume the spider symbol on his chest and he'll start punching lizards and.
Oh, God, no. I wonder this: would the fans like that more than seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield?
No.
Okay. Because I mean, some people
they build the director John Watts said that this is Spider-Man Endgame. So to me, when you say something like that, it has to mean that something like absolutely insane is going to happen. Yeah. Yes, there was some decent fanfare reaction when you saw Dr. Octopus and when you saw Green Goblin and all that. But, I mean, I don't quite feel that lands with Endgame proportions.
Yeah.
Having the 2 other Spider-Men in the same movie would feel like Endgame proportions to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I really pray that it's not like they just show up in the last 5 minutes and then there's a battle and that's it. And here's a question: what the hell are they fighting on? That thing with it looks like the Statue of Liberty underneath the scaffold, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. Yes.
But then it looks like it has like Captain America's shield, right?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it looks like there's this big round disc, and it looks like it's the Statue of Liberty because it's like out in the water. And it's like the height of the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, is this like an alternate Earth thing? Is this like some kind of other, like, what is this? And I mean, they're all fighting on it. I don't know what the hell is going to go on. For my take on it, I think that what's going to happen is that Peter's going to go to Doctor Strange like very early on, and he's going to have him do the spell, and then some time is actually going to pass before any kind of chaos happens, and Peter's all happy. Maybe we have like a little montage of him like with MJ or whatever. Because that conversation that he has with MJ where he's like, my life is
to your phone to help
my Alexa's going off. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Sorry.
That conversation where he's like, there was this one time in my life where things were normal, like that's going to be before the spell, obviously, right? And so I think he's going to have like a little montage, kind of like Tobey Maguire having that montage when he has the black suit. And then you're going to have like one villain show up, or maybe it'll be that Dr. Octopus and then Green Goblin scene, right? And then he's going to go talk to Doctor Strange, and they're going to talk about this box, whatever the hell this box is, this MacGuffin box. And I know that Mr. Sunday kind of speculated that it'd be like a TARDIS where it's like bigger on the inside, and you just capture the villains and put them in it. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Ghosts. I mean, Dr. Octopus says you're fighting ghosts.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a ghost trap.
it's like Ghostbusters. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, yeah. There has to be some kind of significance of why it's like villains that have fought Spider-Man and died, which not even all of them have died, right? Like the Lizard didn't die in
No, the Lizard did die. Sandman's the only one that didn't die.
You sure the Lizard didn't? I'm pretty sure the Lizard
definitely died in Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh man,
Do
you want to bet money?
Let's do it.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a poster.
I'm so confident that I'm right that I wouldn't even take your money at it. But like I'm very certain that Lizard died at the end of Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay. I'm so excited about getting a YouTube clip after this and sending it to you. But whatever. So they have the box and they go and he's able to capture them all, but then he goes to escape from Doctor Strange because Doctor Strange wants to essentially put him back in to their destined fate to die. And I think that he's spurned on mainly because of Mysterio. I don't know. Like when Doctor Strange is saying they're all coming through, I can't stop them. What do you think that is?
I think that when I said before that Peter doesn't want to kill anybody and he wants to somehow save them, quote unquote. I think that's like the harder path, and I think there's some kind of reality merging or reality breakdown because he won't kill them and send them back or whatever he has to do.
I see. I don't know why the hell I didn't think of that. It's like the realities are like literally merging the longer these people are in there.
Yeah.
Okay. That
which is also kind of like exactly like Spider-Verse.
Yeah. It is like exactly. Good point. Yeah. And Spider-Verse is so good to have all the alternate Spider-Man interacting. It'd just be a real shame if we don't have those Spider-Man interacting in this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I think we kind of picked it apart as much as we can. Do you have anything else for that one?
Shit, I guess I'm wrong about the Lizard.
Because he's in jail. He's in jail and he's only got his one arm. Yeah, he's in jail. The guy that dies is Gwen Stacy's dad.
Ah, shit, that's right.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, because you see, what is it? Is it they imply it was was it the jackal or the owl or something? Talking to him.
There's some person. That continuity's all fucked up. It's like it could be Norman Osborn.
Okay, so he didn't die. Okay, so we know Dr. Octopus died. We know Norman died at least.
Yeah.
Did Electro die?
Dude, I didn't even watch Amazing Spider-Man all the way through.
Yes, he was disintegrated. It says.
Okay.
So
I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I mean, Sandman literally just walked away. Like, like nothing. He didn't even get locked up. He just walked away.
Yeah. Just kind of pumps some sand and goes. Yeah. That was so good. That sequence where he first becomes Sandman, where he's like learning to walk again and stuff. That's so good.
Yeah. I think he did a great job. I mean, it feels like his story was almost unnecessary in that movie, but I think it was a good story. It just didn't fit in the movie.
Right. I agree. Do you think that we're going to see an actual physical Thomas Hayden Church, or is it just going to be sand? I'm full of sand.
I think it's going to be full of sand.
Yeah.
Because they can't pay all these people. They just can't.
Yeah, right.
The only other thing I wanted to comment on was a tweet you retweeted about the making fun of Otto Octavius's name.
Yeah.
And you know, someone tweeted that you retweeted. You literally met a talking raccoon named Rocket Raccoon.
Right.
How is this funny after that?
Right. Yeah. He said that was an excellent
point.
Yeah. I know. But that's been like a running theme in all the Spider-Man movies, right? Because it's like when he meets in the Avengers movies, right? He meets Doctor Strange and he says, right, we're using real names, right?
We use superhero names or fake names?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and it would be a shame if he was like taken completely out of the MCU. But I kind of wouldn't mind if this did kind of kickstart the Sony Spider-Man universe and like kind of make it tighter, you know?
Yeah, they need that. They need the cohesive glue that is Spider-Man to make that work.
Right.
It simply will not work without Spider-Man in it.
Right.
Like, I don't want a Batman show without Batman. I don't want a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to leave the MCU either, because I like Spider-Man being part of the larger world. So I don't know what the solution is here, but somebody figure it out and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know the cool thing is that we have less than 1 month, and we're finally going to see it.
Yep.
So I'm pretty excited. Cool, man. So looks like we have more Young Justice next week, and then is there any kind of thing to talk about besides that next week? It's something like every freaking week.
We're gonna get Hawkeye next week, but I don't think it's before. I think might actually be Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. So I don't think it's going to be the day we record. So.
Okay. Oh shit! Wow, next week's Thanksgiving too. Okay, wow.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Flying.
Yeah, dude, tell me about it. So, you know what, guys? We are thankful for you, the people that consistently watch this show, the people that consistently listen to the podcast. If you guys have not liked and subscribed, please do so. We love when you guys are part of the conversation too. So make sure you join us, and we're gonna keep doing Young Justice, and of course, we're gonna talk about Hawkeye when that comes out too. All right.